We're in a 2-year drought here in North Florida, and as you can see behind me, our pond is about to go dry. That white marker there, where you see the orange and the black on the bottom, that would be 2 feet, and there might be 4 inches of water over there. So every week we're losing half a foot of water or more, and pretty soon this pond will be completely dry, and that would be a good time to try and fix it. We've partnered with Natural Waterscapes, and we're doing their bucket test right now. So we took samples from the pond in 3 different areas. We think we have 3 distinct types of soil down here, and there's no way to determine which one overlaps the other one. So we're trying to figure out which one is the worst and then treat the whole pond as if all the soil was the worst. So behind the camera, we took a sample. Over there where there's some yellow clay, we took a sample. And behind me on the north end is where we think most of the leakage is. And that's kind of sandy, and we took a sample there. The first thing we did in the bucket test was just take the soil as we had it and put it in the bucket and see if it would leak. And what we found was the north end soil leaked right away. Within a couple of hours, we lost all the water above the soil in the bucket. Then we tested the soil behind the camera and the soil over there. And the soil behind the camera, which we thought might be porous with sand, actually held water the best. And then the second best was the yellow clay over there. Once we let those buckets sit for 3 days, which is what they want you to do, 72-hour bucket test, we turned them over, and as you can see here, the soil in one of the buckets was pretty much dry all the way through. There was a little bit of moisture on the bottom of the bucket, and in the other bucket, it was a little bit soupy. So we were thinking maybe we had some great soil, and out of the 3, that maybe one of them was good soil, but we talked to the folks at Natural Waterscapes, and they said even though that bucket only lost 1 inch over 72 hours, that probably translates into a much bigger number across the bottom of the pond. So we're going to consult with them as we go through this test. And the next step we have to do is take the bentonite clay that they provided in the bucket test, mix it with our soil, and then do a 72-hour test with varying levels of bentonite to see how much bentonite we need to put in the bottom of this pond to hold water.
It's a sad state of affairs, isn't it? The bucket test results were very, very surprising to us. But the other thing that surprised me as I sit and look at our dwindling pond and our increasing pit is you can see the moist clay from like where it was a week ago. So in just a week, it's been 1 week and it's already lost so much water. And again, we're in a drought, but the evidence is right there. Can't wait till it's fixed and we have a pretty pond with fish.
What I got to do now is go get a little bit more dirt because the amount of dirt I had isn't enough to do the bucket test with the clay in it. What I want to do is do like 1 pound of clay, 2 pounds of clay, 3 pounds of clay, 4 pounds of clay, just do a bunch of different tests with the same dirt, because you want to put enough clay in the bottom of the pond that it holds water, but you also don't want to spend too much on clay. So we're trying to look for that happy medium, or that amount that will be effective but yet not break the piggy bank. I don't know if the camera will pick it up. You'll see if Bella goes into it, but there's a hole over there, and over here it's relatively shallow. And the reason we dug that hole is we wanted a catfish hole on either end of the pond because they like deeper water. But that might have been a fatal error, especially on this north end, because it was already sandy and we might have broke through any clay there where that hole is and just basically created like a sink drain. So when we reshape the bottom of this pond, we're actually going to fill in those holes so we won't have catfish holes, and then we're going to put the bentonite on top of the dry pond bottom and till it in and pack it. Because the soil is so porous on this north end, that's going to dictate how much clay we have to buy for the whole pond, because we have no idea where this sandy area stops and the more clay area begins. Here's the bucket test we were talking about, and it's a bucket with some holes in it. And what we did first was we just put our soil in the bucket, and inside we put some marks, and we marked 6 inches and 8 inches. So the test calls for 6 to 8 inches of soil. We found if we put a little bit above the 6-inch mark, that's plenty, and we packed it in the bucket, put a little water on top of just our soil, no clay added, and packed it, and we saw if our soil leaked without any additives. So the additives are what's called bentonite clay, and this clay expands a lot more than this kitty litter size that you see. And the bucket test comes with a bunch of these bags of the clay. Here's a 4 pound per square foot, and I guess the bucket is 1 square foot, so they give you 4 pounds to mix with that much dirt. here's 2 pounds, and here's 3 pounds. And I also found, because we may not use the 5 and 6 pounds of bentonite that they provided with the kit, I took this Famous Dave's Signature Spicy Pickle Chips, and I put a mark on here where 2 pounds of this bentonite clay is, and then the actual ring on the top here will be 3 pounds. And that way I can take some out of the 6 pound bags, because we're not going to do a 6 pound test. And this is 24 fluid ounces. So 24 fluid ounces of pickles all the way to the top will give you 3 pounds of bentonite. So what we've done to prepare our soil was we dried it out, we laid it out in the sun on some tarp so it wouldn't get any impurities on it. And we have 2 different types of soil here. So when I was talking to Natural Waterscapes, our partner for this video, I told them that I was going to take our worst soil and do a 2 pounds of bentonite and a 4 pounds of bentonite test, because they figured that our worst case scenario was 4 pounds of bentonite to be added to the bottom of our pond. And when I told her how I was going to do this, and it's Brooke, by the way, so how you doing, Brooke? We appreciate all the help you've given us. She said take 2 different types of soil and then put the same amount of bentonite in each, and then compare those 2 soil types as they leak down over 72 hours. And she said you may be surprised by the results. So that's what we did. We dried out some of our yellow clay and some of our more sandy areas, and we got that dirt ready here. We've mixed it up, and what I've used, I've got this 1/2-inch drill, and Deb and I used to do some tiling on a house we used to own and also some rental property. So we got this grout stirrer or thin set stirrer. We got it in a 1/2-inch electric drill so we don't burn out our cordless drill. And we've got an extra bucket here that we poured it into and kind of loosened all that soil up. So Deb's going to show you how that works. I'll pour it in here till there's about 6 or 8 inches in this bucket. And then Deb's going to stir it up with the 1/2-inch electric drill. So we're just going to push the drill in there all the way to the bottom.
Fun. Oh, I spun the bucket too. Look at that. Let me hold the bucket.
She was spinning the whole bucket.
I still am spinning the whole bucket. I know that's not how it's supposed to work, but it's fun.
Okay, I think she's got that mixed up good enough.
But do I? I probably need to mix it again.
No, it's mixed good enough. I'm going to pour a little bit of dirt in here, a few inches of dirt. Then I'm going to pour some bentonite clay, and Deb's going to mix it.
I'm going to mix it.
All right, I'm going to pour some more dirt and some more clay. And by having everything pre-measured with this second bucket, I know that I won't put too much dirt in there or too much clay. Okay. I'm going to put the rest of the dirt in here and the rest of the clay, and we'll have Deb mix it up, and we might even pour it back and forth between the 2 buckets just to make sure we get a uniform mixture of the bentonite clay and the soil here that we're trying to test. Deb's being a little cautious with it. I just go for it. I just take it and spin it, push it down to the bottom.
So I'm following Brad's direction, and I'm going to pour it in here. I guess I'm cautious with everything.
And then pour it back.
Now I'm going to pour it back.
So I think that's a good mixture. That's as good as we could ever do in the bottom of the pond, right? Because we're going to spread it with the tractor bucket, and then we're going to use the tiller on the tractor. So this is better than we can do in real life, but I just wanted to make sure that this is a really good test, and we do the same thing across all our samples. Now the next step is going to be to add a little bit of water to it so we can pack it. So what we're going to do now is just wet this mixture so we can pack it. And we don't want to pour too much water in there at once and make it soupy. So we're just going to have Deb put it by hand. If you get it too wet, you're just going to have a soupy mess in here. This is just to get the dirt packed. The water will go on top of this, and it's just really hard to pack. But in the pond bottom, it's going to be hard to pack too. So you just hope that that bentonite that's mixed with that soil will fill all the gaps and keep it from leaking. So what they told me at Natural Waterscapes is that you only need about 6 to 8 inches of a good barrier on the bottom of your pond. You don't need 8 or 12 inches or several feet of clay. We're going to add the water slowly so we don't disturb that packed surface too much. I've got a water line here I'm going to fill it to. I want to get that water line nice and clean, because that's what's important, is how much water that it loses, or hopefully doesn't lose. We're not going to show this every time. We're just going to show the results after this. But after we do 2 pounds, if that doesn't hold water, or if this bad soil doesn't hold water, we're going to go up to 4 pounds per square foot. And that was their initial recommendation when they did our soil samples. And we'll know right away on this soil, because this one leaked like within minutes. This was starting to show leakage without the bentonite clay. So there's a science to this, and we are not scientists, but it's very important that you fill it all the way to the fill line, because 1 inch doesn't mean your pond would lose an inch over that time. They're telling me that 1 inch could translate to as much as 5 inches over the same period of time. And we'll consult with them. They want to consult with us and make sure not only are we doing this right, but that we interpret their results correctly, because they take a lot of pride in recommending solutions for leaky ponds, but that relies on us doing our testing correctly and applying the bentonite at the rate they say to apply it and the way that they say to apply it. I'll do a quick check under the bucket and see if it's leaking yet. I feel like the bucket's dry. We're going to do another bucket of a different type of soil in the exact same way, and through the magic of editing, you'll see the results. Close the lid so there's no evaporation, and then wait 72 hours. We'll check it and see how much water we lost. And we want to give a shout out to Natural Waterscapes. Between Brooke, Jesse, and Heather, we've been in constant communication with them like daily with our results. And this video has taken us 2 weeks or more to make. And they are experts in fixing ponds, but they also provide a lot of things for ponds that are fixed. They have fountains, they have aerators. So check out our link below. They created a landing page for us. So you can go to our landing page and you can see our whole story, how they analyzed our soil. But you can also go from there to their products and check them out. They just have a lot of good things for ponds, and hopefully some of those things will be in this pond once it becomes a pond and not a pit. We learned a lot from testing the soil, but we didn't get the results that we thought we were going to get, did we?
No, we didn't. But we did learn a lot, like he said. We learned that we have a lot of different soil compositions, and the compositions that we have are not what we thought they were, and they didn't yield the results. Basically, we're inconclusive, right?
Yeah, I think that's where we're at. We're going to go down to each individual areas and talk about the results, and then we're going to talk about our path going forward. We haven't figured it out. We're still in the decision-making process, but we want this pond to be sealed, and we only have so many resources and so much time to get that done. I'm going to be a little bit far away from the camera just so you can see the pond and the different soil profiles. So we have a yellowish clay there, and we thought that was a really good clay. And we have a reddish clay here, and we thought that should be pretty good too. So we pulled a sample from right here, and we took that sample and we didn't add anything to it. We took it and we put it in a bucket, and we checked it, and it lost about over 72 hours or so. It lost 1 inch to 2 inches of water. Then we took that same soil, dried it out, we mixed it really, really good in a much better controlled environment than we could ever do here in the bottom of the pond. So we knew we got a good mixture of the bentonite, and we used 2 pounds in that bucket. And the recommendation for this pond is 4 pounds. So what we wanted to see was how much would half do, because the dirt did pretty well on its own. And what we found is by adding 2 pounds of bentonite that it didn't improve. It still leaked about the same amount, if not a little bit worse with the bentonite in it. Now there's many factors there. The bentonite didn't cause the leak. But when you look at all the work it would take to till in bentonite properly here and pack it, and then you still potentially might have a leak, it just puts questions in your mind. So let's talk about our best dirt, which is where Deb is standing.
So this turned out to be our best soil. We did a test with it. It didn't lose any water in the initial test. Yay. So then we thought we'll add some bentonite to it and it'll do even better. We added 4 pounds of bentonite, which is the recommended amount for our soil, and it lost water. So it kind of went backwards to what we thought. So then we continued the test and we let it go for a solid week, and it lost a little bit more. So this soil just kind of perplexed us.
And what that is telling us, we think, is that if you add bentonite to soil, it's not going to immediately seal. We feel like we did a really good job with that test as far as how we executed it and we packed it. After 1 week, it lost a little bit of water every day. It lost a bunch of water initially, then it lost a little bit of water every day. And then it kind of sealed up. It went to where it went maybe a day and it lost maybe 1/8 of an inch or so. And when we turned the bucket over, that whole 8 inches of soil was saturated with water, but it wasn't runny. I really feel like the water was needed to swell up the bentonite. But again, it didn't stop the water completely like we wanted it to. So the last type of soil we have is that sandy soil on the north end, and we did 2 different tests there. We took the soil, put it in a bucket, no bentonite, no additives, and it couldn't hold water more than 4 or 5 hours, which gave us, evidence that that's the problem for this pond. All of it leaks a little bit, and that probably can be mitigated with all the rain we get in Florida, except not this year, it's been a drought. But that end is just constantly leaking. Overnight, it leaked all the water. Well, not even overnight, like 4 hours, it leaked all the water. So we took that soil and dried it out, and we put 2 pounds of bentonite in that soil. And again, the recommendation for the whole bottom of the pond is to do 4 pounds per square foot. We put 2 pounds in there, and that slowed it. It slowed the water going through it, but when I turned the bucket over, it was real runny in the bottom of the bucket. So while that bentonite helped with that sandy soil, it certainly didn't seal it. Then we ran a complete new test with 4 pounds of bentonite. We grabbed a new sample, so it was all clean and fresh. We put 4 pounds of bentonite in it, and what we found was initially it lost about 1.5 inches, let's say over the first 24 to 48 hours. And then after 72 hours or so, it started slowing down a lot. And after a whole week, after 7 days, it pretty much sealed. That sandy soil down there that is so porous that couldn't hold water overnight, that over a 7-day period, it didn't lose, like last night I checked it, it didn't lose anything. It basically was the same that it was the day before. So bentonite definitely works to seal your pond, but let's get into some of the reasons why we might need a different alternative here, or at least maybe we need to explore some other options.
So the one positive thing about our drying pit is that when there is water, it's pretty. It's a pretty color, it's clear. So that gives us hope that one day when we do have it all figured out, that the pond really will be beautiful.
We'll get there with this pond, but for right now, let's talk about what we're gonna do next, or what we're thinking about doing next, because we're really not sure. So what are our options here? I look at it as we have 3 options. Our first option is do nothing, right? We do nothing with it, and that's kind of what we thought would happen. Over time, it would seal. We get plenty of rain here in Florida, and it'll fill up. But what happens when it doesn't? So when you have a 2-year drought like we have now, if we had spent a lot of money to put fish in there and we grew those fish up, then they'd all be dying, or we'd have to catch them and eat them so they don't go to waste, right? And we don't want to do that. So that's option number 1. Option number 2 is bentonite. And so at 4 pounds per square foot, it would take about 10 tons at least of bentonite. And bentonite costs around $1,100 a ton plus shipping, because it's not natural in Florida. So let's just round up. Let's just say it's $12,000. $12,000 does not include, like, we have nothing out here that can unload a ton of bentonite in a bag. So we'd have to rent something, or hopefully get a farmer or somebody that has a front end loader or a skid steer that can pick it up and unload it. So imagine we've got 10 bags, big white bags of bentonite on the side of the pond. How do you get it in the bottom of the pond? Well, we got tractors, so we could do it with a front end loader. We could cut the bag, get the bentonite in the bucket, and then apply it to the bottom of the pond. And we could mark off the pond with paint or some sort of grid. But could we ever mimic the way we did the bucket test and get the bentonite perfect the way we did in the bucket? What do you think about that?
No, because the bucket test is so controlled, right? You measure the dirt, you measure the bentonite, you mix it up, you seal it where you can truly get a test where you're not having the sun evaporate it more. There's no way you can do that in a pond, and not just you can't measure it correctly and till it correctly, but the sides of our pond are very hard. So can you actually till in the bentonite on that hard packed clay?
She's exactly right. We have a rototiller or a tiller for our tractor, and our idea was, because this is how we've seen it done before, and also how they recommend doing it, is you need to till it. You need to incorporate it 6 or 8 inches deep. Well, using a rototiller on a tractor, in the bottom of that pond, the soil's fairly loose. When we worked in it last week with the excavator, we found out how loose it was. And we were like, man, we can get in here and till it. But like Deb just said, the sides of the pond are dry and they're hard packed in their clay. They're so hard packed that she fell last week, and when she hit on her bottom, she had a bruise that big, and then she also hurt her wrist. That's how hard the sides of the pond are. So I don't think our tiller can till that up and then mix the bentonite and then make sure it's the right mixture. I'm not saying it's impossible. Right. I'm saying that it would be hard to do. And so you got all that cost of the bentonite. You've got some sort of equipment to get it off the truck. We use our equipment to do the best we can, and then you got to pack it. So then we'd have to rent something to pack it. So all those things add up. So let's say $12,000 of material might turn into 3 to 4 weeks of work and several $1,000s of maybe rentals or something like that. So,
and then, I'm sorry, and then you do all that, and then you're not guaranteed anything, right? Because we don't have any test where it was perfect. It was helpful, and we think, but we don't have any tests out of all the tests we did for 2 weeks that were like, this is it, 100% guaranteed.
What Deb said was true, but we did another test after that video, and we actually have some great results. So this is the yellow clay right here, and it lost no water. It's been 3 or 4 days, it's lost no water. But even more amazing, our sandy soil lost no water either. And this is with 4 pounds of bentonite. And what we did different in this bucket test was we put in some dry dirt and then sprinkled a little water, put some dry dirt on top of it and packed it. And that way we got moisture all through the soil profile, and that allowed the bentonite to swell. And bentonite will definitely seal the bottom of your pond if you do it correctly. And Natural Waterscapes, they believe in bentonite sealing the bottom of the pond, but you got to follow their process. And we've already talked about maybe we can't follow it to a T. And they also talk about, like, as the pond gets full, then the pressure from all that water and that weight will push it in and seal it. But all that is things you won't find out till later. So we still might do it. We're just saying that we didn't come to a conclusion, yes, we're definitely going to do it. So that leaves us, so let's say it's $12,000. That leaves us with our third option, which is what?
A liner. So a liner, everybody's been saying a liner. Well, we would research liners, and they were ridiculously expensive. So a liner was not even on the table for us for the longest time. However, we have found that it could be an option now, especially if you compare it with the cost of bentonite. So there's still work to be done with a liner as well. It's not like you just roll it out, it has to be done. Your soil has to be prepped, it has to be packed, it has to be shaped. You have to, I guess, dig a trench and tuck it in and put dirt on top of it, and maybe put dirt on top of it in the bottom of the pond. So there's not an easy process to the fix, but a liner is now at least an option.
Yeah, so as we talk about the cost of the bentonite and all the work that's associated with it, and the fact that we don't know if we can do the process perfectly, a liner, we know we can shape the bottom of the pond. We've got an excavator, we've got a tiller, we can make it smooth, we have no rocks, we have no snags. The liner is about the same price as the raw bentonite, maybe a little bit less. And a liner is guaranteed for 20 years. And if you put dirt on top of the liner so the sun can't break it down, because they have some sort of UV protection, it could last forever, literally forever. So like Deb said, you have to dig a ring all the way around the pond to tuck the end of the liner at, let's say, your 4-foot water level or 5 foot. You got to come up your sides. And there's a lot of labor as far as you need to get like 10 of your best friends or whatever to roll it out. And then if it's a windy day, you got to have a lot of sandbags. And then you got to get water in it so it stays down. So we'd have to run water down here. But that's what we're weighing out. And I guess there was a fourth option, which was having the guy come in here. He said for $10,000, he could bring in some good clay and line the bottom of our pond and pack it, bring it in dump trucks. But that would require us to go test his clay. And is all his clay going to be uniform? Right? And so $10,000, $15,000, we've got one more shot to fix this pond.
Yep.
We don't have multiple shots that this was our first shot. It failed. All right, we'll eat some humble pie and recognize that we are not pond experts, but now that we've reached out to the pond expert, that's where we're at now. So any parting words here?
Stay tuned. We will have a pretty pond on this property. We will. It's just a matter of which avenue we take to get it.
So that's our pond story, guys. Stay tuned for the next chapter. Until the next video, y'all take care out there.
Take care.